Welcome back, everybody, to another video. Today we're doing our Week 6 power rankings, and there's a lot of movement on our list. I said this last week that we're getting to the point where some teams are starting to be pretty consistent with their play, so they're going to be, kind of staying higher up. But still, there's a lot of movement last week because it's been a fairly inconsistent year, I want to say, with a lot of these teams. Like the Titans, for example, that they'll win big and they'll lose big. Very hard to kind of nail down on the power rankings, but we have a lot of movement. Some teams are staying where they are toward the top. I'm not going to say which teams because there were some big teams that did move. But yeah, we're just going to get it right into it with the Panthers, starting at number 32. The Panthers are the worst team in the NFL, and I am a fan. So yeah, they're down 2 spots from last week, and there's just nothing else to say. They're winless, bad play calling, no offensive weapons. Bryce Young, as a rookie, is struggling, and rightfully so. I actually did a video. My most recent was on why the Panthers are in the position that they are, whether that was from, free agency moves. Anyway, all that kind of stuff. If you want to see it, go check it out. But yeah, Panthers, they're the worst team in the NFL. Next is the Broncos, who actually didn't move from last week. They are still just number 31. They lost to the Jets, but still, I think the Panthers are worse, so they're not really going to go anywhere, just hanging in there at number 31. Then next is a big one, and some people might not like me dropping this team down this far, but next is the Giants, who are down 7 spots. And the reason they're down this far is because the last couple weeks, I was kind of letting them sit in the, upper half of the bottom 16, if that makes sense. But it's just become too obvious that it's just not going to go like it did last year for them. They have a lot of issues, and they're struggling a lot. So I dropped them really far down. Also, though, keep this in mind when I do these rankings. Just because a team drops down 7 spots, that does not mean it is because of last week's play. Some teams also moving up may leapfrog, and that also makes the team fall down, just so we're all clear. So just because a team loses by 3 points in a close game, they happen to drop like 3 spots, it's not just because of that performance, just so we're all clear there. But yeah, the Giants, a lot of things not going their way. They're down to number 30. And then next is the Bears, who are up 3 spots. I had them as the worst team in the NFL. They're now number 29. And, good for the Bears. The season is still alive for them. I personally, I don't think they're going to turn around. I think they'll make it respectable. I originally picked the Bears to get in between 5 to 7 wins going into this year, and I do think they will reach that point. I don't think they'll end the year, like 3 losses. But then again, they lost like their last, 13 last year or something, so I guess anything's possible. But still, great things from them Thursday night against Washington. Fields looked great. The offense looked great. Him and DJ Moore went absolutely off, so you love to see it. Moved up a few spots. Next is the Cardinals. They're down 1 spot, and honestly, you could have them probably lower. I had them up because of that Cowboys game, and since then they've slowly started to come back down. They're down 1 spot, lost the Bengals. I feel like that was kind of not a given, but it's fairly expected. I actually did pick though the Cardinals to win that game. As one of my weekly upsets, but I'm not shocked they lost. I just kind of picked it as an upset. Didn't happen. It is what it is. The Cardinals are down 1 spot. Then next is the Raiders, who are up 1 spot. They won a pretty close game last night against the Packers, and hang around toward the bottom. They're not the worst team in the world. They have a lot of issues, but they managed to get the win. I believe they're now 2-3, 2-4, I think. So somewhere around there. Again, whole lot of season left, so everyone counts. Good for them getting the win last night. And here is another team I dropped very far, very, very similar to the Giants, and that is the Patriots. And I meant similar to the Giants in the sense that I also had them kind of lingering in that group, hoping that they would kind of take a step and bounce back, and they have not. They've scored 3 points in the last 2 games. Absolutely unacceptable. Patriots, really, really bad. I'm going to be honest. And it's so funny because in the offseason, I didn't like Juju signing there. I thought it was just kind of a weird move. I think they should have kept Myers. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I actually kind of like that move. I warmed up to the idea, and now Juju has maybe 100 yards receiving on the season. I don't think he even has that. And so I should have just stuck with my original opinion there. But yeah, Patriots, a lot of issues, big injuries on defense too. It's all kind of crumbling on them, and they are down to whatever number that is at this point. And that number is 26, because then joining them in the bottom 8 is the Vikings at 25, which is down, I'll have to check, down 3 spots from last week. I cannot remember how many times I dropped them, how many spots I dropped them down, but they're down 3 spots. And, I had the Vikings somewhere in the middle to start the season, and they've just slowly dropped each time. And now Jefferson to IR. there's a few different ways of looking at it. As a Vikings fan, you can be absolutely depressed and be very upset, which, rightfully so. It sucks. But at the same time, I think the Vikings kind of needed this, and I don't think they really wanted to take the approach of like resetting, but I think it's for the best. Just move on from Kirk. Maybe even trade away like an offensive weapon, like maybe Hawkinson, even though you just got him. I'm just saying, I'm just spitballing here, but just to try and accumulate some picks using the defense, because like it's so lopsided. It's hard for them to win games because their defense is just so not on the same level as that offense. And yeah, so I mean, I'm not saying seriously trade Hawkinson, but seriously make some kind of move so that you get some picks and just anything to bring in some young talent, especially on defense. Because you still have Jefferson, hopefully, as long as he doesn't leave. I don't think he will. Drafted Jordan Addison seems like a good pick, so you still have him. KJ Osborne's pretty good. So the Vikings have good people, but I think this was needed to just kind of reset, move on from Kirk, find your identity as a team, and really bump up that defense a bit. And so that is what the bottom 8 is looking like this week. Next is up 5 spots from last week, which is the Saints. I still don't feel like the Saints are that great of a team, just being completely honest, because of just the way some of their games have gone this year. But there is no denying their win over the Patriots. Regardless of how bad the Patriots are, it's a big win. A very big win. They're up 5 spots. Gotta respect it. Up to number 24 for the Saints. And then also, it's a good time for me to say this. Next is the Buccaneers, who are up 3 spots from last week. But they did not play. They're on a bye week. So I do want to say that just because teams are on their bye week, I'm not going to keep them where they were, because it does kind of mess with the rankings a little bit. So when teams are on their bye week, I just kind of like slide in where I feel like they should kind of go, even though they didn't actually play. So if a team that you like, I drop a couple spots because they're bye week, I promise the following week whenever they play, I will even that back out so it makes more sense. So if they're on a bye and they're moved down or something, just bear with me. It will be evened out the following week. And then once the season's all said and done and bye weeks are over, it'll be evened out again. And then next up 3 spots is the Rams. The Rams had a game against, I think it was the Eagles, which they lost. And quite frankly, they moved up because it just kind of happened that way. Like, I wasn't like trying to move them up. Again, if you want to do this, you can. You can put the Rams behind the Buccaneers, and there you go. But honestly, I just feel like the Rams are one of those teams for me this week where I think they still are up there, even though they did lose. And they only did lose by 9 to the Eagles. The Eagles are a good team, and the Rams offense looked very good with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua in there. So I don't want to like drop them a ton because they lost that. I didn't want to move them up 3 spots, to be honest, but like they just have to go there for right now until like they have this next game, and then it'll look a bit better next week. Next, and at 4 spots from last week, is the Tennessee Titans. The Titans, again, I use them as an example of being just so unbelievably inconsistent. It's impossible for me to pick them and rank them correctly, so I'm sure this will age terribly. But they did beat the Colts, and the Titans are, I want to say 2-3, but that division is very close right now. It's like 3-2, 3-2, then 2-3, and 2-3, I believe. So really anybody's division, all pretty similar, honestly, as far as the each team goes. So Titans are going there. Maybe it's a little high. You could probably have them lower, but like that's just where I think they should go right now until they lose another big game next week, and then the following week they win another big game, and then they lose, and just, continues to all depend like they have this entire season, basically. Next, and then down 6 from last week, is the Commanders. It's a bad loss, to say the least. I think it was bound to happen that the Bears turned it on one of these games and made a team that was better than them look pretty bad. I personally didn't think it was going to be the Commanders, but here we are. So it's a bad loss. It's a game you need to win. If you're the Commanders, you start out 2-0. Very tough loss there, and you're in a very tough division. It is what it is, though. Young quarterback, just got to bounce back. It sucks, but like I said, it was bound to happen to some team. It just happened to be the Commanders. And again, another team that's on their bye is the Browns. They are up 2 spots for doing nothing. So, congratulations to the Browns there. I still just kind of have them there because I feel like they are just kind of like that middle of the road team for me. Farther down, I think some people would have them way higher up because of their defense, but their offense just kind of worries me, especially because Watson is not in right now. If Watson's in, he's healthy, it's a different story for sure, but we don't know Watson's status this week. So going into this week and after the week we just saw, even though they didn't play, that's just kind of where I have them. Once Watson comes back and we get another good look at the Browns as their team as a whole and healthy, I think I'll be able to rank them a bit better, but as of right now, that's just kind of where they're going to have to go. And then up 2 spots from last week is the Steelers, which is, pretty cool. They had a very nice win against the Ravens in a game that they were down like 10 in like the final, 10 minutes of the game. And they somehow won 17-10. So Made it happen. Really, really good for them. They needed that win badly. It's a divisional game, so obviously those are always big. And a big play to end it with Kenny Pickett's George Pickens. So you love to see it. They're up 2 spots. Next is the Texans, who are currently down 1 spot. This doesn't really worry me very much at all, to be honest. I think the Falcons and the Texans are very similar as far as where they are in their season right now. I think both are kind of teams on the rise, and I think that's why it was such a good game. It was very competitive. They're pretty similar, so I'm not going to drop a bunch of spots. I think the Texans are still a good team. The Falcons are a good team too, and they happen to lose to them. It is what it is. Only down 1 spot, and again, you're still in that division, just 1 game out of time for first place. Or actually, no, 1 game out of, I don't know, whatever. They're 1 game out of first place. Next is the Packers, who are down 1 spot. This is starting off our top 16. You could probably make a case for them being a lot lower, but the Packers are not as bad as the Titans when it comes to inconsistency, but they have been fairly inconsistent this year for me to rank them. I think the game, what was that, Monday night we just saw? Monday night was very, very winnable for them, and it's very unfortunate they didn't come on top of that one. Jordan Love played pretty poor. I'm not going to really sugarcoat it there. He played pretty bad. So, got to bounce back. Still a young quarterback. Still plenty of season left. But as of right now, down 1 spot. And honestly, I probably could have dropped them more losing the Raiders like that. But I still want to see what the Packers can do whenever Aaron Jones comes back as well. And I do feel like they are still a fairly good team, but again, if they start slipping here, I'm going to drop them pretty far down the rankings. And then up 4 spots is the Falcons. The Falcons, again, they beat a team that was very, very similar to them. They did not move up 4 spots because of that. Realistically, they probably moved up, I think, 2 spots because other teams moving around, they happen to just kind of move up that much. But either way, the Falcons are a good team. They're a very good team. And Ritter played his best game yet, so you'll love to see it. If you can build on that, the Falcons are going to be in business because, in my opinion, Ritter's what's held me back from predicting the Falcons go farther than what I did. So if he ends up turning it on, the Falcons are going to be a very dangerous team. So good for them. They're ranked 15. All right, and so this next team, okay, I don't want to hear about it in the comments from anybody, okay? They're up 10 spots for beating the Titans, and it's the Colts, okay? But please just hear me out real quick. I do not have them that high for that reason. It's kind of like, if you watch us every week, then you know last week I boosted the Jets way up because I wanted to see what they would do after Zach Wilson played pretty good against the Chiefs. The Colts are not that same situation. They realistically only moved up like 3 or 4 spots, and then also factor in the other teams moving around. But I also just kind of want to see what happens if I rank them this high and where they kind of fall after this, because I'm going to be honest, Gardner Minshew is not a bad quarterback. He has not played bad for them. So they're 3-2. They're tied for first in this division. I'm going to leave them there, up 10 spots after just beating the Titans. It just sounds so stupid, and they probably don't belong there. Realistically, they probably belong like 4 or 5 spots lower. But I do want to see where they go from here, in all seriousness, because I think the Colts have a lot of potential. You have Jonathan Taylor back now. Zach Moss is playing pretty good, right? Zach Moss? I'm second-guessing myself now, but I'm pretty sure it's Zach Moss. And so, still, they have pretty good offensive weapons. I think Minshew is pretty good. I mean, he beat the Ravens, so I want to see what the Colts do. I'm not saying this is the best ranking I've ever done, but I am kind of curious to see what happens and how that ages. And again, I just referenced them. Next is the Jets. So the Jets actually did not move from last week despite beating the Broncos, and it's because, the way I said it last week, I moved them up a bit because I felt that the Jets had so much potential, but Zach Wilson just wasn't performing. But then he did perform against the Chiefs in a game they probably should have won. So I was like, okay, I'll move them up. I want to see where they go from here. They technically did build on it. Zach Wilson didn't play as well as he did against the Chiefs, but they got the win. That's all that really matters in the end. So I'm going to leave them there. They play the Eagles this week, so that'll be a big test. If they manage to win that, I'm going to start leaving them up here. If they lose it and Zach Wilson kind of comes back down to earth, we'll drop him back down, kind of the same as the Colts. So those 2 teams are up pretty high, but again, if they lose, I'll drop them down to probably their rightful ranking. And then next is the Chargers, who are down 3 spots for being on a bye week. So again, other teams moving around, it just kind of happened that way. Chargers still a great team. And they actually play someone good, and I'm pretty sure it's Monday. I think it's the Cowboys Monday night. So that will be a very big game, because if they win that, I might have to move them into the top 10 or at least very close to it. So we'll see how that goes. But Chargers, still a great team, just kind of luck of the draw there. And then next is the Bengals. Now, the Bengals did not move from last week despite their big win over the Cardinals in a game that Joe Burrow looked very healthy in, which is big for the Bengals. The reason they did not move is because, well, for one, it was the Cardinals. Two, I want to kind of wait. Same as the Jets and the Colts. I want to wait and see where they go from here. If it's a one-off thing, I don't really care too much. I'm not really moved. If they beat Seattle, though, I think it's going to be a possible turning point in the Bengals season, in which case I might have to start moving them up again, because really, the only reason they were playing so bad, or at least a big part of it, was Burrow's health. If that's kind of starting to be a bit behind him now, we're going to have some very different conversations, because after Seattle is the bye week. If Burrow's pretty much healthy right now and doesn't re-aggravate it this week, then might be looking really good. So I'm going to lead the Bengals there, and we'll see where they go. Next is the Seahawks, who again were on a bye, -2 spots, but again, just kind of how it happens, so they're right there. And then next is the Ravens. So the Ravens are down 2 spots. They're not out of the top 10 yet, but man, they blew that game. I mean, they really blew that game. Rashad Bateman dropped a touchdown in the end zone, wide open. I know Zay Flowers dropped a wide open pass across the middle. Like, the Ravens receivers really sold Lamar. Lamar didn't play the best, but that game was won. You can't blow that. So, bad loss. Not going to drop them like crazy. It is a divisional game where it is usually competitive anyway. But yeah, very tough for them. All right, next up is the Jaguars in the top 8. They're up 4 spots after beating the Bills in London and finally looking like how I've expected them to look all offseason, honestly. The Jaguars were like my biggest sleeper team. Not really a sleeper team. Okay, when I say sleeper team, first off, I mean it's like possible, dark horse Super Bowl run type sleeper team. Not like, oh, they might be good. Like, yeah, everybody thought they might be good. I mean, like, to really go win it all, sleeper team level. So, and it's because of that offense. And that offense has finally looked like how I thought it would. So, very big for the Jaguars. I'm moving them up 4 spots. I'm curious to see where they go from here, because I thought they would be catching fire earlier this year, and they kind of did, then lost it. So I want to see if they can continue to play like this consistently, because if they do, the Jaguars are going to have a very nice second half of the season. Well, I guess we're not really halfway through yet, but you get what I mean. So they're number 8. Next is a team that I chose to win the division. I was pretty high on. I picked to have a massive upset opening night, and I decided it was finally time for me to really start boosting them way up there in my power rankings. I had all that faith in them. It's time to actually show it. So I moved the Lions up 3 spots to number 7. And no, it is not because they beat the Panthers, who are the worst team in the NFL. It's because I really do think they're in a spot now where they're going to be very, very tough to beat. The Panthers are bad, but the Lions still put up, 42 points or something, and they didn't even have Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, yeah, the Lions are a very good team. I want to have them there. I think they are very capable of staying in the top 10 for the remainder of the season, so we'll see how that goes. Next is the Cowboys, and if you're a Cowboys fan, you might be thinking they would be way further down there. I only actually dropped them 1 spot, despite their massive loss to the 49ers, and really it's because I kind of expected that. Not that bad by any means, but I did think the 49ers were going to win that, because I think the 49ers are just on a different level than everybody else in the league right now. So very bad loss for the Cowboys, don't get me wrong. But still, I'm not ready to drop them way down. I think they're still a good team, but just a very, very bad loss. But again, very bad loss to the best team in the NFL right now. Next is the Bills, who again only down 1 spot after their loss to the Jaguars. I could have dropped them farther, but again, I think the Jaguars are a pretty good team, and so it just kind of happens. The Bills so far this year have bounced back pretty well from their losses. Week 1, they lost bad to the Jets. After that, they went on a tear. I expect something pretty similar after this loss too. The Bills are still a great team, so I don't expect anything different moving forward than them bouncing back. And the next is the Dolphins, who are up 2 spots after the run against the Giants. I think the Dolphins are a great team. If you want to be kind of technical about it, because the Bills technically did beat the Dolphins, then you could probably switch that, and obviously that's very valid, so I'm not going to argue with anybody about that. If that's your rankings, totally get it. No problem there. So that's where those teams are going to go. And then my remaining teams did not move, being the Chiefs number 3, the Eagles number 2, and the 49ers number 1. So again, these rankings will shift up. They will shake up a lot because it is a weekly power ranking. The teams that will likely move a lot next week are the Colts, depending on what they do, the Jets, depending on what they do. I'm not going to say Bengals, because I don't think I'm going to move them too much either way, unless it's a very bad loss or a very big win. And then again, probably we'll see the Lions too. We'll see what happens with them. But otherwise, that is my rankings for the week. I understand they're not perfect. I understand you guys probably have problems with them. So if you do, comment down below what I got right, what I got wrong. Do not grill me on the Colts pick. I get it. I said it. Okay, just leave it at that. But thanks for watching. I do really appreciate it. Make sure you guys are subscribed to my channel for weekly power rankings and week picks and everything like that. I do NFL news videos, player rankings, tier list videos, and all that kind of stuff. I also do Madden videos where I do gameplays, no money spent series, pack openings, and new promo content news. So it's always football content on the channel, one way or another. So thank you guys for watching and all the support. I do really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.